Welcome back to the channel and part 2 on the Jensen Interceptor. Part 1 went down really well, where we covered introduction to the car, what we're going to be doing, and the sill repair. So this time we're going to focus, certainly to start with, on replacing this wing. The details of all this we've covered in the previous videos, so I'm not going to recap there. Bo's busy inside right now, just pulling all the interior out. We're going to get the glass out. These trims are quite fragile and delicate, so what we're going to do is Martin Roby's have original rubbers available, front and rear. So rather than try and carefully get this out in one piece, we're just going to blade the rubber, cut that out, pop the screen out, leaving these chromes untouched. New rubbers go out together lovely. So we've not wasted any more time or product or material in getting the wing bare metal, because we're going to cut it off. So what we have done is just exposed the join, which this has obviously been got at before. I mean, it's a bit of a mess around here, but the replacement wing comes through here, all the way up through this edge here, and then up and into the windscreen aperture. So what we're going to do now, once Bo's got their interior out, get the glass out, we'll clean all this back and expose where the original join is, and then we'll probably, I mean, the wing's a mess, we'll probably just cut it off sort of just to the waist side of the join, and then we can start offering up the replacement panel, making the many adjustments it's bound to need, and get a wing on it. And then we'll move on throughout the video. As I said last time, I'm not going to cover the sill replacement this side unless we find anything more interesting, because we've done sill coverage on a Jensen, but we've got the rear valance to sort out, and hopefully we'll sort of shut this video down once we've got a bare metaled and probably epoxied Jensen Interceptor body shell. Nice and simple, wing came off without any problems whatsoever. It's obviously had the lower half repaired, it wasn't a top, so we've got the wing over there, which I'll do some overlay footage. You can see where it's been lapped, and you can see where there's been no protective paint put on there either, which is why it's just rusted away. There was a bead of sealer along the joint, which has just shrunk, curled up and wasted away. So with the wing off, really pleasantly surprised how solid it is. The inner wing's good, the A-post is good, the inner wing rails are good, so it should actually be quite a straightforward repair, providing the reproduction panel's a decent panel. So we're going to clean all this up now while it's all exposed. We'll get the wire wheel in, clean it all back, we'll put protective primer in where we can't get to at a later date. The rest of it then will be treated with Noval Cobra once it's built. The new wing, we'll flip that over, we'll key it all up on the inside, and that will get, as always, coated with Noval Classic Car anti-corrosion primer, so that when it's all finished, the Cobra will go onto that, and we've got a nice anti-corrosive layer. So pushing forward, we'll get this wing sorted out now. Okay, reproduction panels do get a bit of a bad rep. I've said some unpleasant things about them, and by and large it's justified. But the flip side of that is, I mean, my argument is, if you're going to tool up to make something, why not tool up to make it right? But the flip side of that is, it's better than nothing. You know, the wing that was on this was a mess, and this needs work, but it's far closer and it will be better in the long run. But it does need some work. So we've got some work to do on the inner wing, which I'll cut to shortly. Got a few repairs to do down on the A-post. But what I wanted to do is get the wing lined up and potentially fitting, so that we can also then get the inside coated in epoxy, and that can be curing, because that's an hour's bake time or 24 hours, so we've got a bank holiday weekend coming up, we'll get the inside of the wing coated and that can cure. So focusing at the minute on getting this wing to fit. It's not bad. It's a little bit of give and take, and you've got to sort of pick your battles with these. So, and when I say these, I don't mean Jensen's, any reproduction panel. You've got to figure out where you're going to adapt it and modify it. So there are several areas which are key, one of which being the windscreen aperture and the scuttle. So if you cut up here a minute, Lou, you'll see that we've got definite shapes here that we need to be matching up to. There's still a bit of filler there, so this is a bit out. So at the minute, the windscreen aperture is clamped up to the inner aperture. And it's nearly in line here. It's pretty much in line here. We're following the return panel here that the wing clamps to. So at the minute, this section here is pretty much where it needs to be. What I do need to do, and there's not much room to do this, but what I need to do is drill and pin where we've got it clamped. I need to drill and pin it so I can get the clamps off and offer the bonnet up, because obviously the bonnet fitting the hole is also kind of important. But at the minute, we're fitting up here, which is a key point to fit to. And the other point we need to fit to is to line up with the end of the car, obviously. Now, it was actually oversized here. So you can see where the mark is here. I've just had to dress this return back to line up on here. But bearing in mind there's still some filler in here as well, we're pretty good on that swage. It's not perfect, we've got to tweak and adjust, but we're kind of heading in the right direction. This is by no means a final test fit. But what it does do, it throws up the problem down the back here. So to get this lining up and this lining up, we've got a bit of a twist in the panel here because it's pressing hard up against the door. Now, the shut lines on this were pretty good. So what I don't want to do is go moving the door around, because the door lines up nicely, it fits at the back nicely, we've got a good line all along the door sill step here. The door's in the right place. The panel we're replacing needs to now be in the right place. So, as you can see, we're really tight down here, which is why we're putting torsion into the panel. So, what we're likely going to do, no, I'll reword that. What I am going to do is we're going to mark up down here, and we're going to probably come in, I mean, it's going to be quite a distance actually. It's going to be best part of 1/4 of an inch all the way down this line here, and we're just going to redress the back of the wing because we're far too far this way. But I can't go that way because we're already overhanging at the front of the car, but we're lining up here. So this is what I mean, that you've got to try and pick your battles. If I was just to make that gap right, then I'm going to be out here, and I'm going to be way out down there, and I'm going to be out at the bottom of the valance. So we spent a little bit of time, which we've captured a little bit on the GoPro, just trying different positionings of the wing to find out where we get the maximum amount of just about correct points and the least amount of wrong points, the least amount that we've got to rework. So all in all, it's not actually too bad. We've got to drop it down a little bit here. The swage line is not too bad. We've got to reprofile this edge here, and we'll tap this back and change the shape in there. So work to do, which we knew there was going to be work to do, but all in all, it could have been worse. Could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. So we'll pop the wing back off now. We'll set about redressing this. We'll get the repairs done in here, offer the wing back up, and with any luck, we'll get this coated up in some epoxy before we go home. Coming back down now to the A-post and the inner wing. A little bit of a mess in here, dealing with just previous repairs. We've got this patch here which has gone over the top and covering up into here. Repair to do on the bottom of the A-post here. And if we look inside there, we've got a bit of work to do inside there as well. So we're going to open all this up, clean it all up, get a proper repair in there. So that's ready for the wing to go over the top once that's all buttoned up there. And then if we look down here, we can see what's coming, which is the same as the other side. We've had this patch put on over the top here. I would have said this has been done by someone else because this is stitch weld across the top, whereas on the other side we just had a series of drilled plug welds holding it on there, but the same principle in here. And again, you know, this looks like it is a half sensible repair in there, but there's no protection on this. It's just bare steel going all rusty. So we'll crack on now, get this all cut up, rectified, protected, and moving forward. A bit more digging and, well, the job grows. You can see here we've cut away the outer sill, and all this inner within the A-post is just missing. So if we come back down here to the repair section that someone's put in the full length of this, the bottom of the A-post is completely missing. And then come down here and we start to pick it up again with the inner sill down here. So I think what we're going to have to do now is cut this out here, have a good look up inside there, and find out just how far down that sill is rotten. And then make the judgment call whether we go for a full panel or make up a section to repair it. Well, the plan with this video is going to be simply fitting the wing. I wasn't going to cover this side sill because it's the same as the other side. Only clearly it isn't. A lot more corrosion in this side. You can see it's gone all the way up and under there. So what we've done is we've cut back and inspected, and basically from the initial cut line here, going all the way back, the top of the inner sill is good. This repair section here runs all the way down, so we're going to have to make that a proper repair all the way down. But for now, what we're working on is from that cut line forward, just rebuilding all of that, because it's, well, as you can see, it's a mess. There was a previous repair here, as you can see, where a big plate has just been plug welded over the top. So who knows what's behind there. But it always amazes us, though, that people go to this length. Not only do they carry out something that isn't really a great repair, but there is absolutely no protection in here whatsoever. It's bone dry, bare steel, which is just oxidized and corroded and made everything 10 times worse. So yeah, we'll get back to the wing a little bit later on, but for now, with this video, we're going to carry on and get all this sectioned out and repaired. And it doesn't get any better. So we've cut off, you can see down the end there, the remains of the plate that have gone over everything. So, and it was just tacked in place. And yeah, with that out of the way, you can see all the corrosion and crud that it was covering. So we'll flip over now to the GoPro as we dig all of this out and get some new steel going into the bottom of this Jensen. This, unsurprisingly, unlike the other side, is a bloody nightmare trimming back. Just the way these are built, everything's seam welded, and it's a shame they rot so well, because that's the only reason they fall apart. The construction's, well, I'd say borderline overkill. But as you saw in the last sort of camera piece, as opposed to the GoPro piece, all these patches on here, they just had to come out. So I've spent 2 hours now just everything you've just seen on the GoPro, which has obviously been time lapsed. That's just over 2 hours cutting back and trimming back to find floor edges. Now this section here, this front section of the floor pan, they don't have a big return. You can see just here, that's the original factory return on this section of the floor pan. Further up here, it's all been munched and just where it's had the patch repairs before, they've all taken a bit of abuse. So I think what I'm going to do, in fact what I am going to do, is just re-edge this section here. I'll give it a little bit more of a return. So it's just a simple 90-degree flange that we're going to let in. I'll cut this back along here and stitch a new section in there. This reverse flange of this section of the floor pan is actually cleaned up and is pretty good. Bottom of the A-post here, the legs have gone, so I'll just ground those out of the way. So that what we're going to do, once I've re-edged this, very, very straightforward, it's oversized at the minute, but that will end up going back up and into there, up there and into position. Make up the bottom of the leg to attach to the top of here. We do have a reference point up here, but I can also just overlay the new sill so that we can get the jacking point back into there, which again, there's nothing particularly fancy about the jacking point. That little upstand gets spot welded onto there, that gets plug welded onto there, and then this section gets welded to the inner sill. Nothing overly complicated there. It's just time consuming the way these are welded together. You can see actually along here, look, you can see that's the remains of, that's a continuous weld all the way along there, welding this flange to the inner sill, and then it's randomly welded underneath. So, yep, hottest day of the year so far. Grinding away at all of this, but we are making progress. We'll carry on now with GoPro footage as we make this up and get this section in. we've now got the inner sill in, bottom EA post, jacking points in. I'm going to leave this little section here until it comes time to fit the outer sill on, because I just want to make sure everything's where it needs to be and is lining up as it should do. It's all a bit, they're an odd little construction in here. They're all seam welded now from the inside, so that's all good to go. So we've got strength and structural integrity is now back in here. It's all fully seam welded inside, so we've got this section holding together. So I think what I'm now going to do is move down and take this section out here and work out what we're doing with the rest of the inner sill. It could be the way that they've lashed this in here, there's nothing actually wrong with the inner sill. I know there's a bit here, but this might actually be okay. Depends how much moisture and corrosion and crud has been trapped between the two. But we will now just open this up and see what's going on, get it repaired, get what we need done, and then we've got to make up this centre section. We've only got a 4-foot folder here, so it's going to be in 2 sections anyway, but we'll probably come back, we'll get it all cut off, we'll ascertain where we're at with it all, and then we'll do our 2 sections of inner sill, get that on there, and then it's just a case of popping on an outer sill and then we can get the wing done. So a long way behind where we hoped to have been for this video, but we'll keep pushing forward. GoPro will take over, we'll cut some more Jensen apart. Okay, as the GoPro footage would have shown, we've now got the centre sill section off, and then I've come from sort of here down to here, taking off the repair section that had been welded over the top. And with that removed, we can see how, again, it came up to here. This is where it was all tacked on. The top section's all good. Down the bottom here, I can't say whether or not there was corrosion coming through there or not before the repair patch went over the top, but it seems like a fairly excessive patch over the top there has just trapped everything and accelerated the corrosion. So I think what I'm going to do now is focus on this section here before going down and finishing off that rear third. I think if we focus here and we'll cut along there, and much like I did up at the front section, we'll re-edge the floor pan up through here because it's all corroded through. So re-edge the floor, make up that centre section of inner sill, then work down to that final third, make up a centre section, outer section, and onto the wing. inner sill now all done. We put the strengthener pieces back in here. It's now coated in Nova Classic Car epoxy. As always on inner sill box sections, we use the original epoxy. It's a thicker, heavier material. Works lovely. So now that's done, we can set about making up. We're doing it in sections, 2 sections. The central sill, because as you might recall from the previous video, inner sill, central sill section, and then the outer sill is essentially trim. It's like a cover sill. There's no real structural strength there, but it does give us something for the bottom of the wing to attach to. So just fold it up. This, which is going to be ready to, bit of trimming to do still. Get that into there. But the GoPro will take care of all of that. We just thought we'd stop quickly now to show you this. In the back there is all zinc weld through primer. Yeah, GoPro, getting inner sill into it. We are now all solid, which is always nice to hear. So we've got the inner sills all done, the centre sills done, the triangulated sections are in here, so that's all done, the sill end caps, all done. So now we've got a nice solid structure here, all coated in Nova Classic Car epoxy. So the next step is to fit the outer sill, which as I said before is a little more than a trim piece really. It doesn't offer a great deal of structural build to the car. So this just goes something like this. There we go. So we'll get that welded onto there and move back to the beginning of the video and we'll get a front wing on the car. Okay, so the long way round. We're now done with the sill. So we're where we wanted to nearly be at the beginning of this video. Sill section is now done, outer sill is on. It needs a little bit of dressing up still, and I've left it off here. I mean, there's nothing to attach it to here at the minute, but I've left these last 2 plugs unattached and around the jacking point unattached, just so we've got a little bit of leeway here, so that when we move forward now, which we're going to do in the next part here, set about getting the wing on, this section down here attaches to the top of the sill. So that'll all line up, get welded up, and wrap this up. Back at the beginning part of this video, some 35-40 minutes ago, we were trialling the wing and we figured out where it did fit, where it didn't fit, and what we needed to adjust. So thankfully now this appears to be pretty straightforward. We have redressed all of this edge, just tapped it back, reprofiled it, so we've got a slightly larger gap down the bottom here, but the rest of it, slightly tight here, slightly large there. What we can do is build that edge up once it's all welded into position. But at the minute, we're lining up nicely along the top here. We're lining up really nice all along the bonnet line and to the front of the wing. We'll get this redressed. We'll probably just weld it here and then pull it back into position here. But at the minute, we're really happy with how that's lining up. A little bit of dressing up work to do as we stitch it in, but it's fitting now. It's quite relaxed on here. There's no tension anywhere. Before we redressed this, to push it in here was pulling this out and this was all out, but this is not under any tension at all now. So, you know, once that's clamped in there, that wing's fitting where it wants to fit, and we've got some nice lines through there. So, really going well now. We're going to start getting it tacked into position. What we'll have to do at a later stage, we won't cover this in this video, but we'll have to have the door off because this seam here is a return flange. So we need to dress that back onto it itself and just get a few tacks down there, which we can't do with the door in place. But we can't line the wing up without the door in place. So as you've probably seen throughout the video, we've been opening and closing it throughout. It opens and closes without any resistance. So we're all in good shape. We'll just start tacking this up now and finish up this video. There we go, sort of. The wing is on. There's no clamps holding this. We're welded down here, we're welded here, we're welded down here. I've just got to get this cut and welded on here as well. So we're going to pick up part 3 on this, just finishing that off and then going down to the back balance. We're going to cut the video now so because it's taking way more time than we thought. We try and aim for around about 30-minute videos. I think we're pushing 40 at the minute with this. A couple of people have commented, we've done a few videos sort of start to finish. We did the 964 target the other week, which was a start to finish in one video. And a few people have commented how they prefer that format, and we agree. However, with the bigger stuff like this, I think if you look at part 1 and part 2 combined, we're well over an hour already on the Jensen. The Cadillac over there is probably about 7 weeks. So the bigger projects, we're still going to break those down into sections as we go because the amount of work involved, it would be a 2 or 3 hour long video, which I wouldn't want to watch that. I wouldn't expect you to want to watch that. And we're also kind of bowing a little bit to YouTube's algorithms. We need regular content for them to keep pushing such that they do what we do. So with the big projects, we'll still keep serialising it, and with the smaller projects, we'll try and condense them into a 1.5 hour video. So those are the reasons we're calling time now, but with the Jensen, we now have inner and outer seals done on both sides. This front wing is on, everything lines up, the bonnet has gone in and it fits up really nice, door opens and closes nice. We've just got down there to finish off, and then so we move into the back balance. So thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with all the ers. Apparently I too much. I'm trying not to. So we'll see you next week with some more videos.